Hello, Andre. This is Jack Crane. My Sprint 8 submission. Um, Only have a couple things to go over, so I'll just try and get right into it. Um, so I was able to get my accelerator done. However, it took me again way longer than I thought it would because of stupid mistakes. Um, so that ended up taking me most of the sprint again. There's really no excuse. It just took me longer than it should have. And then I was also able to get a little HUD tank orientation sprite going, as well as fix well, I thought I fixed a scene change bug, but I'm not so sure anymore. Anyway, I was able to get the accelerator working, as I said before. Um, in the first scene, I set up my set collision terrain tank inside the collision manager. This then calls the templated set collision terrain function, which then pushes the new collision test terrain command onto the collision test stack. I believe this is just a function within scene now. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I already did that. Then this just calls the collision manager's set collision terrain. So here's the example. So there was a bug from before when I centered the terrain where I can't tell if you can see it, but the show rectangle at the bottom goes one row to the right and one column down around the ABB. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not sure if it's just some kind of float to int conversion problem, or if I'm going just one over what I'm supposed to be in one of these calculations on the X and Z, but it's making my visualizer off a little bit. As you can see, that should be about 4 rows of red, but it's not, because it's 1 row off in either direction. But I am able to get a majority of the B-sphere, and here, I'll show the B-sphere in here so maybe it's a little more obvious. But yeah, so this is all done using the accelerator, and I'll go back into that process in a second. Oh, and I've in the bottom right corner you can see that I've got this little orientation sprite working. It shows the correct orientation of your tank. I just wanted to get a little something extra done, and it didn't require too much code at all. And I've got my time showing using the sprite font. I need to change that to minutes and seconds, and then yeah. So I guess I'll just get back into the accelerator. So I'll just show my terrain iterator class. So I'll do the rectangle first, actually. So this is my terrain rectangle area class. Just has the one constructor that takes in a collidable and the constant beginning and end functions, as well as private variables for the index min and maxes, one for I and one for j. So in the constructor, I'm getting the current scene, getting the terrain object, getting the terrain object's terrain model, and then getting the object rectangle from that terrain model. So if I go to the definition here, I'm passing in the collidable and all 4 variables, but I'm passing in the variables as references so they can be updated, because these are the variables from the rectangle object. Um, so this was part of, actually this function was the biggest problem I was having. I had a ton of problems, and it's why it took me so long. Uh, but one of the biggest problems I was having was I wasn't updating for changing the terrain to the middle, so I wasn't adding by this offset again. That took me a second to figure out, but I was able to figure that one out pretty quickly because of this get cell add function above it. So I just get the min, get the max, add the offset to account for splitting or setting the terrain to the middle, and then I get the min between those two positions, and I get the max vector between those two positions, and then I set each of the variables to their respective vector x's and z's divided by the cell width. This was the other major problem I had, was I had the z's and the x's switched, and I couldn't figure out why it was a problem, but once I got a visualizer set up inside the collision command, I was able to see that it was on the opposite side that it needed to be. So once I switched that, I was able to fix it. Yes, so I'll go back to train rectangle. Oh, I covered it already. So yeah, so I just get the object rectangle, and this gives me the rectangle of cells underneath the object. And then if I go to the collision test train command, I get the collidable in the list. The iterator equals whichever collidable is at the beginning of the list, and then I set the terrain rectangle area temporary, basically, to the terrain rectangle area with the collidable passed in. So this creates the terrain rectangle area with the iterator's collidable, and then I do a for loop which goes through the terrain rectangle area's beginning. As long as it's not at the end, I pre-increment the loop. And then I compute the data for all the AABB using the min and the max point. I think this was another one of my major problems. Oh yeah, I had the CABB set as a pointer instead of just a CABB, and it was giving me problems for that, because obviously it was a pointer to nothing. So that's just another one. I had so many problems, I can't even remember all of what they were, but anyway, I'll get on with it. But I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory, honestly. I just do an if check to check if the AABB collision volume is colliding with the iterator's B-sphere. If so, then I do another check to check if it's colliding with the iterator's collision volume, whatever that may be. So this is just a new PW math methods intersect function that collides with a collidable, and I just take the collidable, get the collision volume, and then call intersect except on whatever collision volume that may be. I think I had to make another math methods. It might have been just this one in the B sphere. Yeah. But anyway, if I'm colliding, then I show red. If I'm only colliding with the B sphere, then I show green, and then otherwise I show white. Uh, so yeah, that was my terrain iterator. I guess I can show the code for the orientation HUD thing, but it's super simple. So um, I believe yeah, I just set up the new sprite objects for the body and the turret, and I basically just pass in the uh, matrix. I can't remember which matrix though. No, I pass in the rotation value. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. When I when I move the turret on top of the tank, left or right, basically I just create a new. Uh, I have a different rotation variable, a float called UI rotation, and I just add the rotation angle to it or subtract from it, um, depending, and I just pass in that value, the opposite of that value. I think if I change these values, that might yell at me. I can't remember if it does. Um, I won't change it right now because I don't want to break anything. It took me way too long to get this working. Yeah, so I just pass that into the UI's body for the set rotation, and that gives me this effect where I'm turning the body and the turret is always staying straight. I may have misspoke earlier about the turret and the body, but anyway. So I was able to finish the cell iterator. I still have a few bugs. Like that I go one column too far and one row too far on either side. You can probably still see it. Yeah, you can. Right at the bottom there and to the right. Yeah. So I need to fix that, and obviously I still have a lot to do, but I was able to finish the cell iterator, and that was my main goal. So uh, everything else will come next. Barycentric is looking hard, um, but I think I can get it done. I want to get it done because I think it's very important to my final game, and yeah, still got to make a lot of game features. So thank you.